All right, guys, we're back. Metro Waterproofing Anniversary Podcast, celebrating 50 years of serving clients, employees, the community at large. We have walked through some fun stories, both from Clyde and Sandra, and of course, all of the guys here today with me, the officers of Metro Waterproofing, here telling the stories growing up in the company. And today we're jumping into where the company went next. So far in the company's history, we've listened as Clyde started the company with a pickup truck and a ladder, some 2x4s, making a ladder rack in the back of that thing, and then just going job to job to job to build the company into 1980s when a fire took out the building, took out everything, and really it was a journey over the next 7 to 9 years to build the company back up from scratch. Now, I'm guessing you guys were all there at that time as well. And of course,
they weren't there for the fire.
No. You weren't there for the fire. You were there. You were there for the fire.
Yes.
And then of course, in the 90s, the Olympics kind of get announced, kind of change everybody in the whole, all the city of Atlanta, everybody needs work. Everybody's got to get ready. And things start to grow and bloom in the 90s. So let's start off, let's go through the technology and the different changes within the business to kind of kick us off and start, because you're talking about an incredible amount of changes from the 1980s into the 90s, the information age. Right. And then by the time we get to the 2000s and on, I mean, it changes so quick that you turn your head around and it's already different. So what was it like when you first got going, you guys, since y'all were there first and y'all were coming right out of the fire and all that, what was it like?
Well, when the fire came, we didn't even have a computer.
No.
We did.
Typewriter.
It was a typewriter, and on bid day, we would sit down and make phone calls and call all the clients to read the bid to them.
Oh, the fax machine came, and that was fantastic.
We got a fax machine after the fire.
I have to make copies.
We got a mainframe, so we had 2 terminals that we could operate the computer with.
We actually wrote out our accounts receivable. Mom did. I helped her once I started. And we would literally write out every receivable in 0 to 30.
The books.
The books. But we had a big, huge ledger.
And they weren't QuickBooks either. They were.
No.
But these are physical. This is paper. So in a fire, that's the thing that's the most vulnerable. So.
So we.
And when there was fire, we had no computers.
Yeah.
We got a computer after the fire, and then we got a fax machine, and then we got better copy machines, and we got finally in the early 90s we went to workstations. And
I was able to put the accounts receivable on computer in 1987. I remember how I remember that is I was pregnant with our second daughter during the fire.
Wow.
And when she was born, Mom kept her the 6 weeks before she could go to daycare, so that I could go in and get everything on the computer. And when I got on computer, Mom said, "You got it.
Yeah.
You're done. I'll work on this other stuff." And she handled some workers' comp thing, a bunch of reports and things we had to do. But I was in charge of accounts receivable.
That's really, and it just that you got handed over to you at that moment.
That was it. She said, "I'm not going to do this computer." Now she, of course, does her computer a little bit now, but.
But in '86 was when we got our first cell phone. It weighed 10 pounds. We had one that we would share. Clyde used it most of the time. And if we had somewhere to go, we could take it with us. And then we bought another one. And the old analog back phone.
But everybody had pagers then.
We had pagers. The technology jump was you went from a pager that just beeped at you that you could have one that could give you a message so you could find a pay phone and hope you had enough quarters to make the phone call. And then I guess we finally got actual cell phones that you could use about 89. That was when we had our first Pactel account.
Yeah.
And Teresa still has that original Pactel phone number that came out of that account.
Oh my gosh.
She kept her. As it's rolled over, it's now Verizon.
That's pretty early on for cell phones too. Yeah. Most people didn't really have them.
We got them because we needed
But we had
You had folks.
We had to try to get in touch with people.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing in the early years. Because you had to send somebody or tell somebody or get a payphone to call the office or
Yeah.
it was hard.
Everything was about communication.
It was.
But I remember when I was in college again, one of my jobs was, I didn't even know what I was reading, but I had to read the quote that the project managers would type up and call literally 10 different general contractors and read off every single word. And can you imagine the translation lost between reading your bid and then they typed them up, mailed them out the next day, and that was it. And then when I got out of college, I started in 1990 after I graduated, and I remember everybody having quarters and stuff. And the big thing back then, believe it or not, Polaroids. Dad always had, Dad had the Polaroid with the leather on top, even through the 70s and 80s. Dad's Lincoln Continentals, he always had that Polaroid.
He did.
with him. I got one just like it. It might be his. I don't know. But, and that was expensive. I don't know if you know how it was Polaroid film back then. So, because if you send somebody to take a look at a job where you got a problem, they need to take pictures. So they're snapping all these Polaroids, having to drive them back to you.
Yeah.
And you're looking at the pictures and you draw up your details or write a report based on these Polaroids. And so that was one thing. And you didn't want to beat a crew because the crews a lot of time hanging off a 20-story building on swing stages. A lot of our work. So you'd be like, okay, I need to talk to that foreman. You beat them, and it'd take them 2 hours to come down. In the meantime, you're paying all the lost
paying
wages.
everything.
It costs you
Yeah.
a couple $100 to beat somebody because everybody shuts down, has to go to a payphone, call you. Just imagine how
That's a
insane
process.
that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And just typing up the quotes and stuff. So all this progress just
It did. It helped.
Yeah, I have two memories because again, I graduated in '91, so I had a little bit of advantage there. But during the '80s, during the summers, I was the warehouse truck driver, and I had to go pick up stuff. So no GPS.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They would send me
that's tough.
one of my I call it my funny stories because the whole summer I thought I was doing a great job. And there was a hardware store not too far from our office called Smith Hardware. And they would send me there about every day.
Yeah.
Well, I was shown one time where Smith Hardware was. And the time I was shown, we were coming back from the job. So all I knew was to get on 285, go a few exits, turn right. So the whole summer, the warehouse manager, Scooter, and everybody was going, what the hell is your problem? How's it taking so long to go pick up this material and bring it back or do what I need? You should not be gone this long. And I'm like, y'all are fools because I don't know what y'all are talking about. I'm tell you what, I'm not stopping. I'm not goofing around. I'm picking this stuff up. And all of a sudden one day it clicked because we went somewhere and we went the right way. And in about 2 minutes, we passed Smith Hardware. And I went, well, what the hell is this? How did you? I did not know to go this way. And so,
that's Atlanta.
And then one thing I do remember, and I almost miss it, when I graduated college, and we're all project managers at the time, we took off new jobs. So to take off a new job, you had to take off the drawings. So in Atlanta, there was 2 or 3 places to go look at the blueprint.
Yeah.
So you had to go to a plan room to take off the job. Now, back then, we still procrastinated, and we had to get over to the plan room. The problem is, in the plan room, if there was a particular job, just say I'm taking off of school, there's only one set of plans. There's 20 people in there, and you're praying that set of plans is in the bin, because if it's not in the bin, somebody else is using it, and you'd have to sit there and wait. Oh. So what would happen is I would get the set of plans, and I think we all did it. We finally get it. Well, I didn't have enough time before the plan room closed. What do?
You steal.
I'm ripping sheets out of the thing and coming back and finishing it at home. And, this is what you would think. Plans, we had our scale, and we're taking off all our stuff on a scale. And then you come back. Now we do all that on computers, but there's plenty of times I'm going through the plans and somebody did exactly what I would do, and they've already ripped out my sheets, and you're just guessing on what to bid. So, but the plan room was fun because we got to leave the office. Mike and I would go and
There was 3 of them.
but particularly there was places where you could get your breakfast. We sit down and have breakfast, and
That was the Dodge
that was
Room.
some Dodge Room. We had a great time. Then we'd go take our jobs off, come back together, and it just gave you a little bit of reprieve from the office, or
Right.
some bonding with your brothers, and
Yeah.
you don't do that anymore
No, you
because
don't do
it's
it.
one. You can do everything I do now pretty much in the office, so there's no
That's
reason to get
what
out
built this
to
company,
check.
to be honest with you. Back then, you had to drive to the contractor's office.
That's right.
You had to shake their hands. They would sit down right next to you and guide you through the plans. You either went to the contractor's office or to a shared plan room.
That's right.
Most times, the best way to do it is to go to the contractor's office. And then you grow this relationship. And if you're there for a few hours, you go, hey, bud, you want to go grab lunch?
Right.
And then, you go get lunch and you're building relationships. That's what we're missing now.
Right.
is everything's digital. It's online. You're making a phone call and barely get out of the office like I used to. But no, those were good times. Scooter can tell you a story. I mean, Builders Exchange had bullet holes through the windows. I mean, you'd go in there and you were like going back in the 50s. Guys in there smoking cigarettes, fogged up room, dim lights, old brick building, downtown Atlanta, scared shitless, to be honest with you, going
Yeah.
in that place. I mean,
Well, it was in Techwood.
it
Home.
was intimidating.
Yeah, I was sitting in the Builders Exchange. It's probably the 3rd month I was a project manager at Metro. And you hear the gunfire and everybody in the room hit the floor. So I was a pretty sharp fella. I hit the floor too. And sure enough, bullet holes come through the windows because there was a raid in the Techwood home.
This is the rough part of Atlanta.
Right.
Yeah.
All that's gone now. It's now a dormitory for Georgia Tech. They demolished all of it and built dormitories.
I'll go back to that story Kenny was just telling you. Want to talk about progress? That truck he was driving that year, Dad was so cheap. when he bought Metro waterproofing trucks back then, it was all roll-up windows, no air conditioning. You get AM, FM if they had AM, FM, but it
Yeah.
was bare bones vehicles.
Work truck.
Yeah.
Yeah,
His work
with no
truck.
air conditioning. And I never will forget it. I know you got sick one day from driving around the heat, couldn't even flip on the
No,
air.
I'm on 285. It's 90 something degrees, no air conditioning. I'm making deliveries, and I remember on 285 pulling over, opening the door, and just letting it out because I was sick. You had to know that the truck was so small. During the summers I'd work, Scooter had a job in Buckhead sandblasting. I think he sandblasted all summer on this park. I don't know what it was. I just delivered sand. So
Yeah.
they would load my truck up with sand. I had sparks going down the street because they had so much sand in it.
Overload.
And now I was taught by my Uncle Doug to drive a stick shift in 2 hours. And so I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to this, and that was my job every morning. They load the sand up, Ken, take the sand. And they were working on another level of the parking deck, so I had to beat my horn because I didn't have a pager or cell phone or anything at the time. I had to beat my horn as soon as I went up the parking deck, and it started scraping the slab because the truck wouldn't make it up because it's all it was.
yeah.
So until I came to a stop, I had to beat my horn. The workers heard the horn, they'd come down and unload the truck, and I'd lift back up, and then I would drive the rest of the way. I'll never forget that. But we had fun jobs too because we got to bust windows out and do all kind of
Yeah,
good
for
stuff.
the restoration,
Yeah.
you sit there and throw rocks through windows because we were going to replace the glass.
Right.
and
Those
stuff.
were great jobs.
How many trucks do you guys have today?
Well, I mean, our fleet total, we got about 100 work trucks, but
Wow.
we got about 120, 30 vehicles.
That's awesome.
Vehicles go.
Maybe walk us through some of the growth that's happened over the last 20 something years. Like where was it when, well, actually, do you want to talk about like when did the officers form? The current establishment, you became president, vice president, corporate secretary, all these different positions were formed. When did that kind of get established?
Oh, that got established as we were there. Like I became corporate secretary in the 80s. I remember I was young. I was thought, oh my dad says you want you to be an officer. I said,
Yeah.
an officer, you
Right.
know. And one of the ladies that had been the corporate secretary had left, and then I think he'd had another one that whoever was the accountant at the time would be the sort of corporate secretary. And finally he said, I'm not giving it to any of these new people. He said, I want you to do it. And I said, okay. And I'm young, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what does a corporate secretary do? But it's a lot more than you think.
Yeah, a lot.
Keeping up with
Yeah,
minutes, and
of
then
course.
you have to make sure you have everything for the accountants and all that. And I was like, learned a lot. Of course, it's grown since those back days. But then each person got their title as, I don't even remember. Do you remember when you became vice president?
It was in the late 80s
Yeah.
because we needed another officer, and
Uh-huh.
there wasn't anybody else. I was the next man up.
Yeah.
And so they were in college, and I don't remember why we needed it. We were doing a bid, and we had to have 4 officers registered, and we only had 3.
Yeah.
And so I had to run down to the Secretary of State's office and sign the forms so that I would be a recorded officer in time to turn in that bid. And so God, I was
We were young.
26 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. Y'all
Didn't
started
know
early.
anything
Yeah.
about anything.
Y'all really started early.
Yes.
I mean, you said you got married and then just went right to work. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was 19. She was 17.
Yeah, I was going to be help the receptionist. She quit the day after I started because she said, well, you're the boss's daughter. I'm never going to go anywhere. And I went,
Walked out the door.
hey.
I worked in the warehouse.
I'm like, I'm 18 years old, and they're going,
Scared to
oh,
death,
my
probably.
word.
Everybody started at the bottom. Though.
Oh, yeah, we started
yeah.
at the
I
bottom.
mean, yeah, Scooter, he was
I worked
just
in
helping
the,
out in the warehouse.
I worked in the field the first
Right,
3
yeah.
months.
Yeah.
And I was convinced they were trying to kill me. Because I had never been on
Yeah.
a construction site.
Right.
And so my job was, I'll never forget, it was the Ritz-Carlton downtown. We were putting the roof on the building, and I would load up. We had an old Ryder moving truck. I would load it up with Dow LG boards, drive it to the job, unload it by myself, haul them up the elevator, walk them up 3 flights of stairs. I did that every day for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I said, I'd go home.
Where you out?
Yeah.
They're trying to kill me.
Yeah.
But I think
Incredible.
probably our biggest jump came when the Olympics were announced.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely.
Because what that did, we got a lot of jobs out of it.
Were y'all vice presidents by then?
Just started.
I don't know.
In
Oh,
the
I
early
don't know.
90s? I think you were.
It had to be because Mike graduated in 90, and I graduated in 91, and then again.
Did y'all have to sell so much and then Dad made you
Yes.
vice president? Isn't that what it was?
Yes.
You had
You
a
had to-
goal.
you had
Yeah,
a goal.
Dad was actually pretty smart because
was.
he, first of all, he hired us really cheap. I think that.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Well, before he hired you, did you guys think that you wanted to go and work for the
No, I
company?
was- I
Oh,
was-
that was,
No, they
while
were
y'all
not
were while y'all
coming.
were in college, what were
He
y'all
was
thinking?
not coming.
no, I was. I thought that.
You were?
No, yeah.
I was
no,
never.
You were never.
I was never working for Metro.
No, I thought that's what I had to do. I thought that was my whole life. I thought you had to go in the military too when you graduated because
Yeah.
of the way Dad, been in the army.
Uh-huh.
I thought you literally had to go in the army, and then after the army, then you go to college. And I learned pretty quick, Dad, you ain't got no damn army. You're going to college. And I didn't know about the fire. I learned about the fire. I think all this is important too. I learned
Yeah.
about the fire from my football coach at Appalachian State. I got
Oh,
called
yeah.
into the office, and they sat me down. Not mom and dad, nobody. Sparky Woods, head coach, called me into his office, sat me down, and goes, I need to tell you something, Mike. You lost the whole company today. Your parents dead. And I was like, oh, God.
Oh, it was devastating.
And believe it or not, by the time I actually got home, it was pretty much rebuilt. It was like I missed every bit of that.
Oh.
Well, we did it
But
fast.
the
Yeah,
thing is,
We didn't have a choice.
by the time I graduated and I started work at Metro, and going back to Kenny, Dad gave me $400 a week, and I thought it was pretty crappy.
Yeah.
Hey, it was double what we got.
It may be double what you got, but it was, it was cheap.
I was
Better live.
$200.
And I started work, and I got used to living on my own for 4 years, so I moved in with Mom and Dad.
Uh-huh.
And I learned pretty quick that didn't last 3 months. I was like, I gotta get
Yeah.
Clyde Strickland on
Yeah.
me every day. Like,
Yeah.
I'm a man now.
Yeah.
So I called up my good buddy John LaRue, and we ended up getting an apartment together. And I started working at Metro, and it was tough. It was super
Yeah.
tough. I think we were in recession.
We were, and
Early
well, and the
recession,
rebuilding from
savings
the
and
fire. It
loans.
was.
We were in debt for
Right.
either $30,000 to $50,000 a month negative
Before we started.
even could
Right.
show a profit. And I'm out there trying my best to sell. I couldn't sell nothing for the first year. I remember saying, I can't do this for the rest of my life. I went and talked to Dad. I said, this ain't for me. I can't do this. He said, son, you're going to work directly under me. I'm going to take you under my wing. And he started mentoring me. And I remember after a few months, I sold my first biggest job, which was Fort Gordon Signal Tower on an Army base, $77,000. I remember going to my apartment. I was married to my first marriage back then, but I remember getting me a bottle of champagne and uncorking that sucker. That was the proudest moment of my life.
Yeah.
And what's funny now is,
Big. Yeah.
yeah, I sell those.
That's a
It's
nice.
like a nose, like just
Right.
blowing my nose these days.
They're still
But that was the
They're
first
still good
one,
for
though.
me.
That
They
was
still, that made me turn the corner. I remember every dang job I sold. I remember Cube Construction, all these companies
Yeah,
are not even around anymore.
anymore.
Not around.
And some of them that are, we still think about winter construction. When I told you we were down in Florida and
We still work with them.
bought those cheap clothes and working on that roof, we still work with winter construction. After this 50 years, they were here before we were, and
Wow.
they're still around. And
incredible.
I think the biggest part of our success, what started happening to us, is we had all this attrition through the year, turnover, project managers. I mean, you name it. They came in I don't even know how long. What's the longest anybody lasted beside a Strickland or Bullock?
In the earlier years.
You were
that's
always
true.
having to start over because people.
I think
were-
our biggest asset back then was our workforce in the back, because we did retain.
Well, we kept a core group.
kept a
but
core group.
You gotta realize back then we did too many things.
Yeah.
We were half our business was commercial roofing.
Ugh.
And then we decided we were going to be shingle roofers, and so we bought the equipment and hired crews, and we figured out pretty quick we weren't very good at shingles, and we finally convinced Dad that we didn't need to do roofing anymore, that we were better at waterproofing.
They want to do everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They
that,
wanted
yeah.
to start a paint company. Wanted
Yeah.
to start
Supply
a
company.
supply company.
We had
a
the roofing company. We had a
We had a leasing company.
leasing
something
company,
else.
We had our franchise.
franchise company.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember.
Finally,
Yeah,
after that, we
franchise.
all sat down
All
and said,
that.
we were good at one
That's
thing.
water
let's-
stand. We need to focus
Yes.
Yeah.
on what we do
Yes.
and do it good.
And,
That's
and when we
that-
did that, that's when we,
Got rid of fireproofing. That was
Oh, that other one too.
fireproofing. That
Yes.
was huge.
Yeah.
And now our competition does fireproofing.
Yeah, it makes it
honestly,
hard on us.
because of us.
yeah. Because
Yeah,
we
well,
did-
we-
solely because of us.
I know, and now people will go, "Oh, well, you going to pick up the fireproofing? We ain't done
No.
fireproofing in 25
No.
years." You know,
Yeah.
we don't do
We
fireworks.
don't want to.
No.
no.
Because
We won't.
you do 10 jobs, 9 of them would be great, and the 10th one would take everything you made on the first 9.
Yeah, you lost a lot of money on roofing and
Mm-hmm.
all that.
We did. Oh, and a company from did Mom's name. One
Those
of
are some
them, I didn't
strategic
want to.
business decisions that you guys were
Yes.
really making and developing, and is starting to grow.
No,
Then
we were into them.
you get in tune.
We were
Yeah.
into those and going into a focus probably in the early 90s
Yeah.
to the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And like I said, we started, every one of us now have been here, still working to this day, to look at that skill level and knowledge of, and not to mention some other employees who were
Mm-hmm.
there.
Dable.
You know, David's a bunch of our guys
Top
who,
guys we've
who
had.
hit the 25th.
Yes.
You know, we pride ourselves in celebrating
When they
employees that
with
work
us for
25 years. you know.
consecutive.
Yeah, you do some pretty cool stuff over there. Why don't we talk about that? What does that look
Oh,
like?
that's so much fun. We get to celebrate each person who hits their 25 years with Metro, and they get something worth $25,000, and they get to pick.
Wow,
It can
that's
be.
awesome.
I mean, we've had RVs, boats, cars. I think finally, was it the year before last when someone finally picked the cash?
Yeah, we finally
the
had
first
somebody
time ever.
pick the cash because I think it started off with Sam. We bought him a.
Truck.
Sam's the name that everybody says, "Hey, you're going to be the next Sam." 'Cause
Yeah.
he was so important to Dad. And
Well, he was
had he had
important.
the respect of everybody.
Well, he was important to us. I
So-
always give Sam the credit for helping transition
Yes.
the ownership
He was
from
important.
mom and dad to all of us, because he did an excellent job of being able to incorporate that and do it in a kind way. He was just that kind of person.
Most
Loyal and forever.
We celebrated his time, and I really don't know if it was 25 years or not, but we
But he
celebrated
had-
him with a red truck. He
Yeah.
loved
He loved
Yosemite
red.
Sam.
Yep.
Yeah, red. So we surprised him, and I think that either set the seed, because then as
Doug.
soon as we started hitting people, we
did Uncle Doug too.
Uncle Doug wanted a camper, and that's the
Yeah.
thing. It doesn't matter who you are. If you're there 25 years, it doesn't matter your position.
Right.
You get to
That's
pick, and
amazing.
we typically
It's
do
really cool.
it every other year. We have a huge corporate picnic at Stone Mountain, and we like to roll it out in front of everybody.
Yeah.
So like a
Nice.
couple of years ago,
It's
one of my
fun.
foremen, Rico, what do you want, Rico? And he goes, well, I'll show it to you. He got a Dodge Charger. Just a few months ago, we were able to
had-
have a party, and the guy picked a ride lawnmower. No, I'm not talking about a ride lawnmower. It's one of those huge
the zero
turn.
yeah.
And it didn't cost $25,000, so he got that plus a
Balance.
check for the difference.
Oh,
So,
wow.
that's,
That's good.
one of our selling points, because I think once you get near 20, you're like, dude, I'm going to stay here until I'm 25.
Right,
I
yeah.
want to celebrate that. So
Well, the new
It's been
millennial
something to
way
look
is
forward
to
to.
jump jobs and see your pay increase, and that is going on today.
It goes on constantly. That's
I hate
kind of
that.
like the job.
I
is to-
almost hate to say it, I don't think we're going to have too many 25-year-old employees after we get
Through the
Yeah.
another few. And that's a
Ones we've
sad,
got.
sad situation.
It is.
It's just the changing of the times and what's going on right now, especially with the labor forces and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, I
Especially
think
skilled
truly,
labor.
too, we see people as our family and take care of them as family. We want their families to be important to them and do things with their families just like they do work. And you have to see that as important. I mean, we just had 3 babies born in the office in the last few
Yep.
months, and
None of them are.
none of them ours. Yeah,
we're done.
we consider them, but they're ours because
No,
they're
that's some
our
good
boys- young guys that just had two had their first baby, one had his second, and it's fun to celebrate
Sure.
those things with them and see them grow. But you want them to spend time with their family. We sponsor ball teams, and our
Never
employees
say
know
no.
they can come ask us to
Yeah.
do that.
A few years ago, we had one of our Hispanic employees came in, and I don't know if his son or daughter was playing on a soccer team, and their uniforms didn't come in, and they were, they needed uniforms, so they knew that I was involved with youth sports. I called the supplier I had. We bought their uniforms, and
It's awesome.
Those things are important to them.
They're very important.
And to us.
It is a part of your family,
Yes.
and the fact that you care about the things they care about and are there for them. I mean, that's a really big deal. It is
Anybody
an
we hire, I
extended
tell 'em,
family.
Yeah.
The first thing I tell them is families first.
Yes.
No matter what, whatever you got to do, if something happens and you got to leave, you take care of your family.
Yeah.
We're going to be here.
Yeah.
And we're your family too, to support you.
It's priceless to have something like that. I mean, if you have that in a company, it's a whole different kind of currency that I don't think people put as much value on because you don't think about it at first, but just to have trust with your employers and have a relationship where they're looking out for your family too.
And the studies show, I believe that people would rather have that encouragement, that thank you too.
Oh, absolutely.
Rather than a temporary check.
Uh-huh.
That gets you very excited. I mean, money motivates a lot of people, but
Sure.
you want that safety and security of that basically quotations family vibe you get, because again, you ain't getting that in corporate America for the most part. And that's the plus of being with a smaller company, even though we're not,
Not
as small
small.
as we used to be.
We're still
Yeah.
considered a big.
you look at how
Done
many,
growed up now.
Yeah.
look at how many of the reps that we deal with. They get downsized 3 months before their retirement date. So
Yes.
they lose their
Yeah.
pension.
Yeah.
Or it gets reduced because they didn't hit the mark.
Oh, absolutely.
And we couldn't imagine doing that to a person because
Sure.
they're people.
I
I don't know how many we've had work in our warehouse and do what they could because they couldn't afford to be retired yet, but they still needed a job and they worked for us for a long time. And you're not going to just set them out and say
Right.
that's it. And so you work with them how you can. And that's the way you just have to treat people like people.
Do the right thing. I think your dad says that quite a bit.
Yeah.
Do the right thing.
That's it.
That's the whole premise of how
Yeah.
I do my business.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's life is simple. It's
Yeah.
black and white. Do the right thing.
Yeah. So there's a third generation
Yeah.
that's at work currently right now. And so who's all working at the, and first of all, like how many kids y'all got? What's families, and who's at the company? Like this is,
So we have 2 daughters
Yeah.
and 5 grandchildren.
ooh,
And so our 2 daughters and our youngest daughter's husband works for us.
Yeah.
And then Ken's kids.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I have 7 total kids now. Had 3 boys.
woohoo.
Then my wife came to me and decided she wanted to try for a girl. I told her she's crazy. Then I said, okay. Then we had twins. And so then we were up to 5. So we had 5 in 5 years, kind of like Erica. She had
Yeah,
hers
my
close together. So we had
daughter,
5 in 5 years. And then
Wow.
we decided to adopt a little girl from Russia. And that's a funny story because
Yeah.
I was always afraid to tell people, hey, I got 5 kids. We're going to adopt. Sounds crazy. Still sounds crazy, but
We still
when
think
God
it's
tells you to do something,
Oh,
You know,
Tatum fits in
you
perfect.
do. Tatum's awesome.
Yeah.
But I remember going, I don't know how to tell my family that I'm going to adopt a kid. And so I said, well, what's the better time? Christmas party, Metro office Christmas party. I was president at the time, so I'd get up and give my speech. And the book was called Crazy Love by Francis Chan.
Oh, yeah.
And I was reading it going, dude, we got to do something. And Terry had already planted the seed about adoption. I said, let's just do it. And I was like, how do you tell Dad? You always, even at that age, I worried about what Dad was going to think.
You never stop.
So I got up and I was like, hey, I'm giving all the project managers this book, Crazy Love.
Yeah.
Because it's led me to adoption. And I'll never forget Michael screaming out from the audience, what chapter's that in? Because I want to make sure I skip that chapter. So yeah, and Tyler's my oldest. He's 21, about to be 22. So he's been working there a year and a half.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
I
he's
have 2 in
just getting
college.
started.
One absolutely wants to be
Oh,
in the
yes.
business and
He's
run the
already
company
working
and working toward that.
summer.
And I don't know what my other kids are going to do because
Yeah.
that's the thing. I had no. We mentioned earlier, I was against working at Metro.
Yeah.
And I was against working at Metro because all I knew was the field labor side of it and getting dirty and coming home smelling like
Yeah.
gas
Asphalt,
and
yeah.
asphalt, and I couldn't stand it. I mean, I'm a city guy. I don't like this stuff, and
Yeah.
I want to be clean, and I want to I want to be. Yeah,
I wanna get that shower before you go to work.
So I was like, and I thought that's what
Yeah.
that's what I thought Metro was.
Yeah.
I thought
Sure.
that was my job for life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until even in college when I went to Clemson, I was like, I'm going to be an engineer, and I'll get another job, and I won't work for Metro. Well, my problem is I was stupid.
Yeah.
I didn't know the difference between a civil engineer, mechanical engineer, and industrial engineer. So I picked industrial engineer because I thought it sounded industrialist.
Yeah.
I didn't know what they did.
Yeah.
About my junior year, when we started making tours of what our job was, because that's when you really get into the thick of it, I was like, I am not going to be stuck in a warehouse my entire life,
Like a plant.
worrying about how things work and how the plant works,
Uh-huh.
and keeping that transition. And at that time, I did work every summer at Metro. And now I'm in the office. I'm working with Scooter. He's teaching me how to take off jobs. I'm getting to wear the clothes and getting to feel like
You can
hey,
take a shower
I'm
before
on
you go
this
to
side
work.
of it.
Yeah.
This is pretty cool. And I actually get to get in the car and drive somewhere and get out of the office because I would never take a job that's 100% behind the desk anymore because I love I love what we do. So
Right.
I still went on interviews and interviewed for other jobs. So I'm meeting Dad, and I finally say, Dad, I'm interested in Metro. And he goes, well, son, I'll start you off better than your brother. He got $400 a week. He says, I'm gonna give you $410 a week. And I was like, well, hell, that sounds like a deal because I'm stupid, right? I don't know what I'm doing. I'll take it. I'll take it. And then I figured out life's pretty quick.
Yeah.
Because I bought a house before I graduated college, so I've already had a house in Lawrenceville.
Yeah.
Not too far down the road where Teresa and them
Yeah.
had their first house, and I found out I didn't know about money and management, And I started bringing home this paycheck, and this paycheck, it took 3 weeks to make the house payment.
Yeah.
So how do you correct that? I need more money. Dad goes, well, you can work every weekend you want. So we were working weekends and stuff.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah, so that's how I got into
They said we were working
it.
every weekend. That's
Yeah.
after we were full-time out of
No,
college.
yeah.
Employees.
Even after
You
I
worked
I
for
worked
weekends.
Yeah, Dad, it didn't matter what your salary was.
No.
If you worked the weekend, he would pay you $15 an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, every Saturday, every other Saturday, we're working out there getting
Yeah.
$15 an hour because what great income. And then Dad also, I'll give Dad credit, even how he made us vice presidents and how he did it. He was really a genius
He was.
and how things worked and how we were indoctrinated into it. But, 410 didn't sound like a lot, but he said, son, it doesn't sound like a lot now. If you sell $100,000 and you bill $100,000 a month, you'll get a $10 a week raise no matter what. So we basically, I don't know if Scooter had that same plan because we're years later. Yours was 20?
No, $20 raise.
No, I got 10. So I got 10. Okay. I got 10 because I remember because I went like literally 2 years in a row every month getting a $10 a week raise.
Wow.
So the income just kept going up. So you're
Yeah.
hooked in at
But
that point.
when Dad treats you right, like,
That's kind of that is kind of a different and genius way to do it. It's not just like
We
a
had goals.
commission.
Oh, no, you had
It was
goals.
popped.
we had
Yeah.
real goals, and we
Yeah.
met those goals, and we got our raises. And if you blew those goals out, then Dad would give you $40, $50. I remember I did it, I don't know how many times, and exponentially increased my sales. And I remember he gave me a $200 a week. I never will forget it. That was life changing.
Yeah.
Finally, and I still think I was down there at 400, 500, 600. I still remember my pay stub. I found it when I met Haley. It wasn't all that. 1996. And she went out and did jobs with me. That's probably against the law, labor laws. But she went out with me and worked on the weekends, and we caulked up parapets and did a few jobs together,
Wow.
even in the late 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you did
you did
whatever
it.
extra
To
you
make
could
extra money,
to
just
make-
and then you're working alongside these guys and building that camaraderie with them and respect.
Yeah.
Right.
You can't get that. Those guys seen you in the field. You don't have this entitlement.
Yeah. You went to war with them. I
That's
mean,
right.
Yeah, you would do whatever it took because Mike mentioned Cube Construction. And I remember Frank, isn't it Frank? Hey, Ken, this is Frank Callsby, Cube Construction. And I was like, hey, what's up, Frank? What you doing? He says, I got a wall waterproofing over here. And it was actually Lawrenceville Elementary School. I had sold a job with Below Grade. And he
Was that
goes,
you?
yeah,
I thought it was
Lawrenceville
10. I
Elementary.
thought it was 10.
That was a good job of mine. But he goes, I got this wall waterproof. You hadn't had anybody out here to do it. And it better be waterproof by Monday morning. Now, this Friday afternoon, and it's a pretty good sized wall. So you helped me.
That was
didn't you?
good.
So I got Mike, Tim, we got a crew together. We knocked that thing out on a Saturday.
Yeah.
I get into work now. When you get into work back then, it's dark. That guy calls me Monday morning and goes, Ken, what you gonna do? I know you ain't got that wall waterproofed. I said, Frank, have you even been out to your job site? He says, no. I said, well, walk out of your damn trailer and go look at the wall. And he had to call me back. But from that point on, we already did a lot of the work. But it was a tie that we had, and one of those moments you're just proud of.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause we did it. Office
We did
work.
what it
Yeah.
took. We went out and did it ourselves.
Yeah.
I had a meeting last week with Portia and Brassfield and Gore, and
Yeah.
everybody wants to know about the labor force right now because there is none.
Yeah.
I told them don't worry about it. If I had to, I'd put on my damn pants and come out here and waterproof these walls myself if I had to.
Yeah.
I don't think that's true.
Oh,
But it sounded good.
Well, but the key is we actually have the knowledge.
But
and
you
skills
can.
to do
That's
it.
the thing is you
Yeah.
actually
They can. I didn't.
But I think that's
No,
what
you're
makes
on
our
up
field
skills.
guys work so hard is they,
Yeah.
at least, for my group that we do all the restoration work that we do is they see me on the job site.
Right.
They see me on the swing stage or on the mast climber or riding a boom lift to figure out how to make the work go correctly. And so they believe in all of us. because they know that we'll come out and take care of whatever the problem is. And if the guys have a problem, they can come to any of us and we'll help them try to solve the problem. Now, some of the problems they have, nobody can solve, not here anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, they trust us and we trust them.
Right.
What we have in the office is what's beautiful. Like,
Yeah.
so many different people that we can go to as a peer
Mm-hmm.
and a mentor to get the knowledge, because there's so many people who's been there for anywhere from 10 to 35 plus years.
Right. That's a pool.
I
of
can
knowledge,
even
yeah.
talk to Dad, 82 years old, call him. And,
Yeah.
You know, because nothing's changed to Dad. He still thinks everything's
Yeah.
just the way it is, even though he knows it's different.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I've done that. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, Dad, on this podcast, it ain't nothing like it used to be. But it is.
Put that in
But
there.
it is.
But it
Well,
is.
talking about that too, back in the early days, I mean, I did all the billings, all the contracts, everything. We'd go on a week's vacation. I'd come back and it'd all be stacked up, ready for the week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's so nice to have good employees that can do that now. I have, oh God, how many girls? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That I used to do it all, just me,
Yeah.
for the billings.
So you know every one of those jobs too. You
Oh,
know,
yeah. Well, and all of it's on computer
Everybody
now.
can lead from experience,
It wasn't
which
on
is
computer
very
back
rare, super rare.
Yeah, there's 40-something people just in administration,
Yeah.
project management, and all that, the sales force. I don't know what
Wow.
we had back then. Probably
No,
10 people total
maybe
or
10.
something.
What, in the office?
No,
Yeah.
10, I guess.
10 at most.
At
That
most.
was a high day. I mean,
Yeah.
the day Dad walked in and fired all the project managers. I'm the estimator, and so I'm estimating a roofing project.
And he walked in
And
and,
he walked
fired
in and
all of
fired the other 3 project managers. And he walks
Wow.
in and drops a file on my desk. I'll never forget it. It was the MARTA West End file, Mosman Underground. He said, "You got 20 minutes to get there." What am I going to do when I get there?
Yeah.
He said, "It's project meeting." And so I'm driving to the job site, reading the file because I don't even know what we're doing. And that's where I learned to, yes, sir, we'll take care of that. And then I wrote everything down and came back and I said, "I don't know how to do any of this. What should I do?" And so the next day I'm out laying roofing on the MARTA station.
You had trial by fire. You did.
It was.
Yeah.
And I respect the fact that when we came in, and I don't ever say this to you, you had it tough. You only had you, and you lost everybody around you. That's really how you got to where you were. Everybody kept
Yeah.
getting fired or quitting.
Or quitting.
And Scooter, everybody calls him Myron. I'm almost learned to call him Myron because everybody's
Yeah.
doing Myron. I don't know. When I type you an email now, I start Scooter, so I call him Myron. I really don't know what everybody talks about.
Myron went serious.
Oh, I know Myron over there. Who the hell's Myron? That's Scooter. The guy I told I'd kill if he ever treated my sister wrong. Man, y'all still good. That's unbelievable. I will say that too.
Yeah.
Every one of us are blessed to have marriages
Yes.
that I think 25 years is the minimum now. That's just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
I guess it's
We're
from the
at-
values and,
We're at almost
that
39.
we were taught growing up. It's unbelievable. So,
Wow. Yeah. That is unbelievable.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Oh, but Scooter, he kept having to come up, and he had some tough situations. And
The fire was tough.
I
We
know
had to
y'all
get
went
that.
through a ton of stuff. When I say trial by fire, I guess you really did.
We really
Trial by
did.
fire, but-
I mean, I remember being in the back after the fire, and we just set up real quick.
We took a door. We
yeah.
took a door off of an exterior door and put it across 2 sawhorses, and we found a phone, and we wired the phone up. We wired it ourselves
Yeah.
because the hub for Bell South was at the bottom of the pole, and so we had electrical wire run to hook the phone up, and we had one telephone. The fire happened. We had built the building next door. By noon, the morning after of the fire, we had a phone. I will never forget. We had 3 contractors show up at our office to hand us a notice of cancellation of our
Yep.
contracts. Because and there were jobs that we were counting on
Yeah.
because it was revenue, and so they came and brought them to us the second day, And so we had to go out and find jobs to replace those.
And we had people, if your billing's not in, you're not gonna get paid.
So we.
And then I had the nice people who said, you take your time. But we would come home at night and do all the billings and our kitchen table and get them all out so that it could,
Right.
Yeah, 'cause
the
I had to
next
go-
day,
I had
because
to
you
go-
couldn't do them at
I
the,
had to go borrow a typewriter.
yeah.
Because both typewriters burned
Got
up.
burned
So I
up.
went and borrowed a typewriter. I don't even remember who I borrowed it from.
I don't even
I think
know.
it's from B&L.
Probably.
And so we set it up on our kitchen table and we did all the billings and.
But you know, through all that, we never thought we wouldn't make it.
Well, we
There was no thought.
We were too
You were
stupid.
going, I mean, you
we were
were,
too stupid to think we would
yeah, I
fail.
mean, there was no thought to that. I know mom and dad didn't either. They may have thought that, but they never said anything, but we never thought.
But,
Well,
We
there's that's a gift. It is a gift.
Yeah, it never was a question that we
Yeah.
wouldn't make
But
it.
we- I mean,
But
we-
we actually
Most
came
people
out of
don't do
that
things-
strong.
Yeah.
Most people don't do things because they're, afraid of failure or
Yeah.
fear of failure. It could push you two different directions. You'd be afraid of failure and not ever take no for an answer and always put the check in the box. And that's a way that fear drives you, as a fear of failure. I have that 100%. So sometimes I'll overdo it. But, and you have somebody tell you, you have delusions of grandeur. And I'm like, I'm going to get grandeur though.
right.
Because if you don't have a vision for it, you don't ever get there. If you sit there and go, I don't know if we're going to make it, you
No,
won't.
we never
You
thought,
won't.
it never,
We're-
that's
we're-
never been a thought.
Well, one of the things that you see in us is we're too stubborn to stop.
There you go. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
true.
that's
All of it.
that's grit. That's
Yeah.
that grit.
When I coached I coached youth sports for 33 years, and one of the things I always tell the kids, whether it's boys or girls, there's this one song that always it means something. It's called Tub Thumping. And the lyrics are, I get knocked down, but I get up again because you're never going to keep me down.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the way we operate.
Yeah.
It is.
We have, we're not going to sit here and say every job is perfect because we're human and we're going to make mistakes and we're going to have jobs that don't go exactly the way you want them to, but we keep coming back to make it right.
That's good.
And
Yeah.
some people's version of right is different than ours, but we do the best that we can and keep on going.
You guys have been going for 50 years. It's pretty incredible. Maybe we can just talk about how you guys feel about that, where the company is today, that kind of thing. Like, where was the company at when you came in?
Yeah. Well,
And where is it today, if you looked
well,
at
I
it?
can tell you, we've had our steps. We've talked about most of them with where we were in the 80s and 90s. And I truly believe, because this team really formed in the 90s.
Yeah.
And that's when things really went well and grew well. And looking
Steady.
back, it's steady.
Steady.
And
Never,
Yeah.
We've had a steady growth.
we had, work up to the Olympics, and the Olympics were great, and they took us to a new plateau because people saw us in a different light, and we can handle more jobs.
Right.
And then we get into the 2000s, and 2000 is when Dad retired. So we've been doing this together now for 22 years.
Yeah.
You can say with or without. Dad's always there.
Yeah.
But he was at the point when he turned over, and I started off having to work everything through him and call him up, and he would approve things, and that gradually just died away because he had the trust in each and every one of us. And, we all had our time in 2000 when he brought us in. But again, before that, I said he was a genius because he made me vice president and said, you're vice president over safety. And then Mike's vice president over another org. So we all have our areas of work that have worked just great. And we don't even throw around our titles. Yes, we're owners and we do things, but we make decisions as a group. Now, we go off on our own a few times because that's what we do, and we're powerful people, and we can make decisions, but we always come back and we talk and we meet in my office, and it brings us back together. So that's the true beauty of Metro.
the different personalities is the strength.
The strength.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm the no holds bar. I'm going 100 mile an hour. I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell everything I can sell. Kenny's the middle guy, and Myron's and Teresa more conservative, more practical, thinking out stuff. Buy the book,
That's
handbook.
it.
I'm the rule breaker.
Yeah.
He's the rule maker.
Yeah, I'm the enforcer.
But
And Ken has to keep everybody in
we
check.
have big decisions and things that happen. We really get together, and it's almost like the political party in the United
Yeah.
States.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We ended up, it ends up being a
Checks and balances.
compromise at
That's
some
right.
point
We-
that works
Yeah.
for the betterment of the company and the advancement
right.
of the company.
We would all make different decisions at certain times. So like I said, you're going into the 2000s, 2008, we had another bump in the road where
Yes.
everybody lost their employees and stuff. And
But it didn't
I'll-
affect us though.
it affected us because we lost 100 employees during that time.
After, but it
And-
took a while.
And we got them. Yes.
We-
When the recession started, the Great Recession, where they call it, when that started, we didn't understand it because we were at our most profitable margins ever at that time. And we worked two years past that before we actually started seeing it
feel
hit
it.
the commercial side of it.
Yeah.
But, we can talk through everything and see where it goes. But even like that, I'll bring this back to God because God is the center of our business. God gave me a talent to be able to talk to people. And I think calm things down. Scooter a talent. Mike a talent. We all have these talents that we use, and that's what we're supposed to do in life, use God's talent.
That's right.
And because we've been there so long and have the respect of each and every employee, I believe, that's where we're going, and that's why we're growing. And today, we're $60+ million a year. And the one story I tell people is because people don't know this about Dad. We went to church. We grew up in church. He didn't truly find God until he was 60.
Yeah.
And his life changed completely.
Right.
I didn't truly find God until I met my wife in 1995-ish. That's when I sat down. That's when life changes. And so when Dad made me president, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. We're a team. We got together. And Dad tested us. And I remember, and Scooter remembers this vividly because I remember him making a comment. He told me what to do one time. He says, I want you to go in that office and I want you to slam your fist down on that table and I want you to tell them what they need to do and I want you to just cuss them out. And I was like, that's not me. I'm not even built that way. But you know what? I listened to him and I had 5 men in the room. I'm slamming my fist down. And this is why Daddy's smart again. I hated it. I hated every part of it. And I went down and I said, Dad, this is not me. I'm not going to be president if I have to act this way.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and says, good job, son. He was testing me, and that's what he's doing because he wants each and every one of us to be who we are, to do what we do. And I keep his sign because when he ran the business, times were different. He could be strong. He could be his own. He could run that business any way he wanted to because he was the only individual responsible at that time. And he had a sign on his desk that said, my way or the highway.
That's right.
And when I took over and I got behind his desk, I stood there and I had that on mine. And the one thing I did is I have it. It's a preservation. I love it. I will take it to me to the end of the world. And it's on my desk. But what we did as a family and what I did personally, I took that sign behind and I put, if you go in my office right now and you sit at my desk, you're going to look at the Bible in front of me. And it helps me during times when I'll tell people when you have to fire somebody, it's the hardest thing in the world to do. And you have to
That's right.
tell people that, we don't need you, or if somebody's cheated you. We've had it all over the years. We've had ups and
As you
downs
do.
that you wouldn't believe that we had to get together as a family and go through this. But we're going to do what's right. And that's why we're going to go another 50 years.
That's right. That's right. Oh, man, what a conversation. Thank you guys for being here. Well said. Incredible. That's it for this episode of the Metro Anniversary Podcast. We got one more episode after this with Clyde and Sandra talking about what was next for them after retiring from the company. You got to check it out. Talking about all the things that's done in the community since then, philanthropy, and the next step for them. So tune in next time, subscribe, share, and guys, until next time, Godspeed.